Hi there, folks. And once again, thank you so much for all your kind messages of support and condolence at this time. I'm still working slow, funeral on Monday. Hopefully, things will be back to normal by the new year. Things are taking a little while, but I wanted to get this book review out while it's still fresh in my mind. I finished reading it recently and I just want to talk about it while I've still got the plot clear in my head. And the book I'm reviewing is called The King's Mistress, and it's by Emma Campion. Emma Campion has only written 2 books under that name, as far as I can see. The other one is The Triple Knot, which I haven't read, but she also writes as Candace Robb. And under that name, that's her real name, she writes crime books set in medieval York. This book and The Triple Knot are not crime books. That's why she has written it under a different name. Now, this book is about a real person. I really like historical novels that are actually about real people. They're usually really, really well researched. The writer usually knows a lot of detail about the person they're writing about. And in fact, according to her publisher's page on her, she is the world's foremost scholar on this particular person, which is very interesting. And the person this book is about is Alice Perez, who was the notorious, or history has written her as notorious, mistress of King Edward III. So this is set in the 14th century. And it's very interesting because history has not been kind to Alice Perez. She has generally been written about as a self-seeking, ambitious, powerful woman who kind of seduced the king, who started out as a handmaiden to Queen Philippa, King Edward's wife, and seduced the king and became his lover and became very, very rich through. But Emma Campion, and she is a real scholar of this period and of this person. She has other ideas about who Alice Perez was and what her character was. And in this novel, she kind of attempts to set things to right. Now, of course, always with this kind of novel, with this time period, there is a large amount of guesswork, but obviously she has really, really done her research, and it does show up in this novel. So she puts forward in this novel a very, very strong argument for Alice Perez being a woman who, rather than being ambitious and making choices about what she wants to do and how she wants to make her money, she is a person, a woman of the 14th century who has very little choice in what happens to her. She was married at the age of 14, like many girls of that age, of the daughter of a wealthy merchant. They were married very, very early to make good connections, to bring wealth to the family and status. And in the book, she has Alice being married at this young age to another wealthy merchant. And it's all to do, the merchant, both her father and the merchant she is married to are merchants in cloth. You get a lot of really lovely detail about clothing, especially when she later goes into the royal household and becomes a handmaiden to Queen Philippa, where she helped her with dressing. Now, according to this novel, she loves her husband, she enjoys the marriage with her husband, but something very strange is going on, and he has some connection with the mother of King Edward III. Now, mother of King Edward III was the notorious Queen Isabella, the wife of the previous King Edward II, who had warred against her husband with her lover Roger Mortimer. And of course, if you know your history, you know that Edward II was brutally murdered at Berkeley Castle on the orders of Mortimer. So Queen Isabella became a very notorious, kind of seen as quite a wicked person. And in this novel, Alice's first husband has some connection with Queen Isabella. We don't know what it is. Alice doesn't know what it is. So there's although she loves her husband, she's very happy, they have a child together, there is this kind of cloud hanging over them. And then because of the connections with the royal family, she kind of gets connected with the royal family and comes and is noticed by the king at some point. But then something happens with her husband. He disappears. She comes under the protection of the royal family and starts to work for Queen Philippa. And the relationship with King Edward kind of gradually starts from there. But again, Emma Campion has it that she never, ever tries to seduce the king. He becomes enamored of her, and they form this very loving relationship. And Queen Philippa became ill and actually sanctions their relationship. Now, we don't know if that's true, you know. This is Emma Campion's idea of what might have happened. She sees Alice as a very, very different character to how history has painted her. And of course, at the time, even though women had very little choice in what happened to them, they were still, if they became a mistress to somebody powerful, they were still seen as wicked and seducers. So, you know, in the hypocrisy of the time. So this is very much about trying to set that record straight and seeing Alice as somebody completely different. So as for the book, you know, the actual novel as a novel, did I enjoy it? Yes, I did. I felt very invested in the character of Alice. I really enjoyed the lovely historical detail of the clothing and minutiae of medieval life in a wealthy household. And what I love about really well-researched books like this, even though we know it's well-educated guesswork to a certain extent of what Alice was like, you still get that brilliantly well-researched historical background, which, if you love history, is always very fascinating to read. Just at times, just a little bit over-described. Sometimes a little bit repetitive in her writing. Sometimes I got a little bit annoyed with Alice because she's kind of warned of things over and over again, and then when they happen, appears to be surprised. So maybe that's supposed to be part of her character, but it kind of jarred with me a little bit. But apart from that, I really did enjoy reading this book, and it's one of those books that every time I came to read it, I thought, oh, good, you know, and that's always a good thing. It's fairly lengthy, and what happens, you know, towards the end, obviously, I'm not going to give you any spoilers, but, you know, she goes through a lot, and she has to put up with all the people who want to bring her down. And the strap line on the cover is, "They will stop at nothing to see her fall from grace." So yes, it's basically Emma Campion's rewriting, I suppose, of Alice Perra's life and how she might have been. And in her author's note, the evidence she puts forward that kind of made her think maybe we ought to rethink the character of Alice Perez is very convincing. So it's a very interesting read for lots of reasons, and just a good story if you just want it for the story. So yeah, if you like historical novels set in medieval England and connected to the royal family of England, it's set in the 14th century, then this is a good read. So that is that for now. I will be back soon, I hope, maybe later next week. Okay, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.